the desert oasis where stories ignite. Skip's little bar, a beacon of light. From the Coachella Valley stars to cool everyday Joes, join Patrick and Randy, let the stories flow. At Big Conversations Little Bar, the magic spreads near and far. Backed by the McCallum Theatre's grace, celebrate the voices that shape this place.
From the coveted corner booth in a little bar at the center of the Coachella Valley universe, welcome to another Big Conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence, presented by the McCallum Theatre. Visit McCallumTheatre.org or reach the box office at 760-340-2787. Gentlemen.
Hey, Howard, thank you so much. Yes, we are back here at Skip Page's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, in the coveted corner booth. And for another exciting episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. I'm Patrick Evans. I'm here with my good friend, co-host, and defender of the realm, Randy Florence.
Yes, I had to defend it a couple of times earlier today. It's an ugly story, so we're not going to get into it.
Okay, well, happy anniversary to you and your lovely wife,
Thank
Kay.
you.
44 years. That's remarkable on her part.
We were,
I mean,
on her part, yeah. It's only been 42 for me. Those first 2 years, I wasn't worth much. No, we were talking the other night about how it's just shocking to even say those words, 44 years married. Yeah. She's a saint.
She is a saint. There's no question about that.
And she also loves going to restaurants that are owned by today's guest.
Well, we all do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Willie Rhine is with us from, of course, Willie's in Rancho Mirage and 84Nine, a venerable restaurateur here in the Valley, a long history, and we're just very grateful that you took. I know it's super busy for you right now.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yes, you are correct. It's super busy. We're definitely in the height of season. I would have loved to have done this in the summer, but it's all good. It's all good.
Well, we'll get you in and out, I promise. I know that you need to.
Yeah, because we have reservations over there later. And
yeah, we got to be over. I got to be at Willie's. So.
No, seriously, thank you for inviting us. It's great to be here.
Well, these are two iconic restaurants in the Valley, and 849. It was really just amazing how the build up to when you opened that restaurant, because we talked about it for a long time as you guys were putting the finishing touches, and so that was quite a project.
It really was. I was the general manager of Lulu, and when we opened Lulu, we had a very similar opening where people were talking about it. The anticipation was huge, and I called it a media frenzy. And the exact same thing, if not more, happened when we opened up 849. It was definitely talked about for months in advance, and the excitement was so huge and grand. We had an opening with almost 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were only supposed to have 60 on the patio, but I squeezed just a few hundred more.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't tell anyone.
Nobody listens to this.
No, I think you actually are the only restaurateur to appear on Eye in the Desert before your restaurant, months before your restaurant opened, actually.
Because I know people on the TV station.
You know a couple of
and
us
Patrick,
over there.
Thank you.
A couple of us. Well, first of all, let's go back to Lulu, because you were there for quite a while.
It was my idea to open Lulu.
Really?
It was. A little history. I was the general manager of Piero's Acquapazza when it was a huge success at the river. And we were sitting at Oscar's space on the patio. We were sitting there one day with Rich Tarpening and another friend, Dino. And I said to both of them, this would be an amazing spot for a restaurant in Palm Springs. Long story short, we started looking at that space. It was available it was becoming available. Then Jerry Keller found the space that Lulu is in now. So he started negotiations with the owner of the property at that point. So it was definitely a collaboration, but my idea to move into Palm Springs. So I was the general manager there for a little over a year, and I decided that it was time to open up my own space. So the plan was to do both for a while, but that didn't last very long, so I moved along to 849 full-time.
Had that always been kind of your dream, was to have your own place?
Not necessarily. I had ran Jerry's restaurant, Piero's Acquapazza, at the river for a little over 12 years, I think. We were there. And opening Lulu just seemed like a natural transition. I was what I thought going to be a partner in the Lulu concept, and that didn't quite turn out the way I was thinking it was going to be, so it was just time to open up my own space. My current business partner, his name is John Pascal, he came to me one day and said, "Hey, would you like to open up a restaurant?" And I thought, no, it's a good idea, let's at least just have a conversation about it. We looked at farm. Now, farm could fit inside our lounge.
Yeah.
Yes, farm is a tiny little spot.
Tiny little spot. So
Great food, though. We love
great food. So this was the original owner of farm that was selling their space, but in all honesty, they wanted too much money. It wasn't the right spot, so we started looking, and we were looking at spaces about that size. We were in the Old Thai Smile. Again, another small restaurant that could fit inside the lounge at 849. Our realtor at the time said, I just listed Design Within Reach. No, sorry, 849 Design. I listed that as a space being available. And I looked at my business partner at the time and I said, if we're going to do this, we might as well do it right. So I had already walked through that space about a year before.
Was that like a consignment store or something?
It was. It was a consignment store. I walked through the space with my partner one Sunday, and I said to him, this would be an amazing restaurant, having absolutely no idea that one day we would be turning it into a restaurant.
Wow.
So,
and it's definitely taken on the image that you wanted to have.
For sure.
As you put it together and decided how you were going to decorate and paint and everything else, was that a vision that you had for very long, or did it come together once you saw the spot?
Actually, no. It sort of came along progressively. Both my business partner and my life partner had a little bit to do with the design. Albert and I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and one of my favorite restaurants there is called La Leche, where everything was completely white. And they had refurbished furniture where they had sprayed everything white. They got these really amazing tables and chairs. Everything was painted white. And I thought that was such a creative use of old furniture. And everything I've done in my life, I've always done it on a budget. So this was budget friendly.
Right.
It's such a unique design, though.
It really
is.
is.
It is.
The space is eclectic, but you pull it all together with the way you. It's just a really remarkable space.
We obviously didn't want to copy La Leche completely, so we added some color. We added we had some furniture made for the lounge, which was all exactly the same. But we designed literally the entire restaurant around one table.
Yep.
Again, happenstance. Albert and I were one of my favorite things to do on a Sunday afternoon is run around all the consignment stores and see what's there. I saw this white table with fuchsia cushions on it. A year before we opened up the restaurant, I said to my partner, I have no idea where this is going to go for now, but it's going to go in our restaurant one day.
Wow.
So we designed the entire restaurant around that table and chairs.
Wow.
How confident were you after the opening? I mean, obviously the opening, you had a lot of people there, but how confident were you that it was going to become what it has become?
I was very confident after the opening for about 6 months. So opening a restaurant, everyone goes through this excitement. Everybody comes out to see it. Everybody spends lots of money. Then all of a sudden, everything just sort of flattens out. People go back to their favorite spots.
Or something new
new
opens up.
Exactly. Yeah. So we went through right around the 9 months to a year period, we went through some major panic, and remember, we have 500 seats.
Yeah, you have a big
feed.
space. I mean, it's
To fill, yeah. And that was one of the reasons that I loved that space, is because, and now it has paid off in droves, because we can have an intimate dinner to celebrate your anniversary tonight or tomorrow night.
Oh, thank you.
Or we can have a wedding outside for 150 people. We can have a pharmaceutical dinner for 20 people in one room. We can have a anniversary party for 10, all at the same time. So lots and lots of options.
And we have only a few guests who've been on this program more than once, and one of them actually is significantly featured in Willie's 849. And that is a room that is dedicated to his photography, and that's Michael Childers.
Oh, Childers' room, yeah.
That's very cool. I got to see that. So once you got past that 9 months, 6 to 9 months, things started to turn back?
Yeah. Again, we built our reputation again. It's taken me 3 years to, we haven't talked about Willie's yet. It's taken me three years to get over the curve in growing pains of Willie's. So the same thing happened at 849. It takes about 3 years before you get a footing and really start building your own.
But you mentioned, people, and people love going and checking out new restaurants. Everybody, and there was a lot of hype surrounding 849. Mm-hmm. And luckily, it lives up to the hype.
Yes.
Your food is always phenomenal. But you said, people sometimes then they go back to their favorite places. But now, 849 is many people's favorite place.
Yeah. Very, very much so.
You've gone from the new kid on the block to a very established, this is where it's a go-to spot. It's a destination restaurant.
Yes, for sure.
And you guys get a lot of buzz, not just in the Valley. I mean, when tourists come to town, people are like, you need to go to 849.
Yeah, we're very well known. We did the Shahs of Sunset wedding the very first week we opened. We've done Vanderpump Rules. We've done a lot of the house basketball wives. We've done a lot of shows that have put us on the map outside Palm Springs. So all of that helps tremendously.
Yeah, the LA crowd knows 849 when they come to town.
And we have a really good online reputation. Again, off the air, I was talking about how I've spent a lot of time reading our reviews.
Oh, that's right.
I do that on a weekly basis, where I read every single review, and our online reviews are excellent. I'm very proud of what we do.
Yeah. Are there any changes that you've ever made based on reviews?
We've changed the menus several times. We've changed. Some people want new items. Then, of course, the people that
what
didn't
happened
want
to the
us
old stuff?
Take the old. People are people. We try very, very hard to make everyone happy.
What are some of your favorite items on the 849 menu? We'll get to Willie's, but let's talk about 849.
I go to the same things. The Scottish steelhead. I love our steelhead there. One of my favorite lunch items, I just had it earlier today, was the tomato soup with a grilled cheese sandwich. The ahi poke bowl is delicious. There really isn't anything on the menu that I don't like, but those are the things that I enjoy. Our steak at 849.
I enjoy the steak at 849.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, 849 was the first place where I actually had a cauliflower steak, and it was so amazing. It was great, yeah.
So the cauliflower steak, that's an interesting story. We were doing a wedding for a vegan couple where they wanted the entire menu vegan.
Wow, okay.
So we had to literally come up with some dishes that we could present to them, because obviously we didn't want to say, okay, here are 5 items and that's all you have. So we had about a dozen, maybe 16 different items, and the cauliflower steak was one of those items, and everyone that tasted it just went, wow. I mean, it's
so you kept it.
Yeah. And we actually took it off. We tried recently. We took it off because we thought it was time for change. Oh my God!
Did you get feedback?
Uproar.
Well, I guess it's nice to know that people care.
So I have a business partner who doesn't say very much. John's fabulous. He's the perfect business partner that anyone could possibly want. I get to do what I want most of the time. So it works great for me. I have a life partner who's running the kitchen. His name is Albert. So Albert and I almost had a divorce over that cauliflower steak.
Thanks for bringing that up, John.
Yeah, great.
He wanted to try something new, which is great and fun, and no.
Well, the guests,
Sorry.
Well, now
Yeah.
I'll be prepared for the next time I go.
The cauliflower steak's back.
it's
Don't
back.
worry.
It's back? Okay,
It's back.
good.
It's good. That's it is interesting. I mean, like, a number of restaurant concepts feature changing menus pretty regularly. But I think the restaurants that we go to most often are the ones where I know what I like. If I kind of know what I want already, and that's how we make.
We're creatures of habit.
We are, and like when my wife and I are talking about where we want to go, it's often what am I in the mood for and where can I get it?
Yeah.
So and like
that's very true.
The steak that you guys have at 8-4, I'm like, yeah, let's go there. That works.
Plus, it's an experience in there. The way you've put that place together, it's a place where you want to go multiple times, not just once.
Well, and the people watching is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it attracts a really interesting, fun crowd, and
does.
and again, a lot of folks from LA and out of towners, so that we can watch them and make fun of them.
Well, I want to go. I want to take this a different place. I want to find out how from that young boy in Scotland ended up sitting here in Palm Springs. So can you talk to us a little bit? Born and raised in Scotland?
Born and raised in Scotland. At the age of 19, my partner at the time was born in Scotland also, but raised in Redondo Beach. So he had a passion for Los Angeles, and we had come over here on a couple of vacations. He always wanted to move back here, so long story short, we ended up moving here full time at the age of 19.
Wow.
You've been pretty open about childhood was a little rough for certain circumstances. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
It was my relationship with my father was not a good one. My father liked to drink a little bit, and he would become a little violent with myself and my mother. So we had definitely a volatile relationship. When they found out that I was gay, that was the last straw for him.
Wow.
So at the age of 15, I was basically thrown out of my house. Went to work, and that's sort of where my work ethic started. So from the age of 15, I had to work. I had to work to support myself. So I worked in a restaurant called. It was a part of a hotel called the Drummond Hotel. I worked it from a very young age. I didn't speak to my father for many, many years until I found out that he was ill, and I went back home to Scotland a few times to see him.
And how was that?
It was okay. It was just okay. Unfortunately, and this is my regret or my mistake, it was easier for me. I had a falling out with my father, but it was easier for me just to distance myself from everyone. And I wished I hadn't done that. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a relationship with anyone for many, many years, including my mother, who I also had to go home when she was passing. Today, fast forward, I have a great relationship with my sister now, my nephews, and their kids, but that's definitely something that I regret. For me, as a young kid, it was just easier just to say, forget it. I'm not there in Scotland. I don't have to worry about them. I wish I hadn't done that.
Well, 15 to 19 years old is not usually the time in our lives where we're thinking as rationally as we would like to be.
Making major life
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
That's how I ended up married at 19.
That was not a rational decision. No, and plus, your whole world is turned upside down, and all of a sudden you're out there on your own, and you have to, kind of scrap for yourself. Most kids at 15 aren't equipped to do that. So obviously, though, you learned a lot of very important lessons that have stood you in good stead.
How was it coming out in Scotland at that
Very
age?
difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult at that time. Again, it was... I got beat up at school. I started a group called the Scottish... there was a group called the Scottish Homosexual Rights Group. They had offices in Edinburgh. I started a youth chapter of that. So I was standing at the age of 16, standing on Princess Street, handing out leaflets.
Oh my gosh.
not promoting, that's not the right word, but talking about there's a safe place to go if you're gay. I'm giving that to people, and some people would be spitting in my face. So it was definitely not the time. I was one of those trips back to Scotland maybe 10 years later, maybe a little bit longer. But one of those trips back to Scotland, I was so surprised and thrilled to hear that they had just had a gay pride parade. So there was a huge change many years later, but there was progress.
So things have progressed there.
Yes. But my family is still, I think it's funny that you mentioned that, because I just thought about it, I don't know why, but a week or so ago I was thinking, I think I'm the only gay person in my entire family.
Really?
Cousins, I don't know anyone else. So it's kind of strange to me.
When did you know?
Oh, at a very young age. Yeah, for as long as I can remember.
It's funny because, we live in Palm Springs and it's such a bubble. And, I've been here for 23 years and, sort of no one cares.
Yeah.
But you forget that outside of this bubble, there are still places where, people are very antagonistic towards gay lifestyle and that sort of thing. So it's a wonderful bubble, but I think we sometimes have to remember that it doesn't exist everywhere.
Yeah. So at 19, you came to
West Hollywood.
Thought
I had died and gone to heaven.
It's a whole different world.
I had no idea.
We're not in Scotland anymore.
No, definitely not.
What was it about it?
Probably the
Did you
biggest.
just feel comfortable being who you were?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd never seen so many gay people in my life.
Yeah.
There was a lot of gay bars. There was a lot of activity. I mean, I could walk down Santa Monica Boulevard and see all the hot boys, and I was in heaven.
And you left school at a pretty early age, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Either 14 or 15.
And you went right to work?
Went right to work.
Into restaurants?
No, I was working in the hotel restaurant. I worked in a grocery store also. I think my very first job was delivering rolls on Sundays. So I had always had little part-time gigs here and there.
You had to earn a living.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. My partner at the time, he was just a few years older than I was. He helped in many ways guide me in the right direction. Unfortunately, my father was an alcoholic. I became an alcoholic. Alcohol was definitely a huge part of my life that caused a lot of problems early on in Scotland and when I got into Los Angeles. So,
was that just to forget about the things that you didn't want to think about?
I don't know if that's the reason. I believe that alcoholism is a disease.
Yeah.
I think I drank probably to forget, to not.
And it was in the family.
It was definitely in the family. My father worked very, very hard during the week and drank on the weekends. So I always had that mentality and that's how my alcohol started also. I'd work during the week and drink on Friday and Saturday. It was like a rite of passage. If you work hard, you get to party on the weekend. And then obviously it gets worse as one comes along.
Monday morning, you're already wishing it was Friday afternoon.
Yes.
How did you overcome that?
How did I overcome alcoholism?
That's water he's drinking, by the way.
That's right.
It is. It is. How did I overcome alcoholism? I got sober 32 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't stay sober. I got sober 32 years ago. I was living in Palm Springs at the time. I was doing construction at the time. I was very unreliable. I was painting someone's house and I kept running out of excuses. During our conversation, he had told me that he was in AA and suggested that I might be interested in going to one of the meetings with him.
So he was seeing something.
He was seeing something. He was seeing a pattern. So anyway, I ran out of excuses. One Monday morning, you just mentioned Monday mornings. One Monday morning, one more time, actually probably wasn't Monday morning, it was probably Monday afternoon. I called him up and said, hey, I'm an alcoholic. I need to go to one of those meetings with you. And that was the start of my first sobriety. I stayed sober for about 6 years, and then unfortunately relapsed. And now I've been sober continuously for almost 22 years.
Wow.
That's great.
Is it hard working in the restaurant business? And I mean, because you're in the business of selling drinks and being around it.
My favorite saying is, if you're going to drink at 849 or Willie's. So no, I have no problem. I have no problem with anyone else's drinking. I only have a problem with me drinking. None of us would be sitting here or I would not be sitting here today if I was still drinking. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I owe absolutely everything to my sobriety. I couldn't function before.
You still attend meetings?
I do.
Yeah.
I do 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's great.
I do. And I do that to learn what works, what doesn't work, to everything. I already mentioned that I didn't finish high school. So I believe everything that I know, every principle that I live my life by, I've learned by going to those meetings.
Well, you've become quite an example for a lot of people who might not have had the most stable upbringing, and what you've been able to accomplish through all of that. Do you talk about that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And again, I don't take the credit. I give the credit to the people that have come before me. Yeah. I had an AA sponsor who was a very successful business person. He's no longer with us. And I picked him as my AA sponsor because I wanted to be a successful businessman. So I figured if I emulate what he tells me, then I might become a successful businessman. Well, I didn't do anything he said for the first several years.
I'll try it this way.
Yeah. He was also my tax guy. And
you should really listen to your tax guy.
I would complain every time I sat with him to do my taxes. Well, can we fudge here? Can we do this? No, Willie, you made the money, you pay it. So the man taught me many incredible, valuable lessons.
He was a mentor in a lot of ways.
He was, very, very much so.
I want to read something here. In 2019, you received an award, and Stephen Henke introduced you. And he started out by sharing a quote. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. And that was a quote from a woman named Pima Chodron, who I follow a lot. I imagine we can take from where you started to where you are and put the pieces together, but how did that quote, what was it important to him? Why was it important to him to bring that quote out, introducing you?
I think you'd have to ask him that question.
Was there something about you that steered him towards that kind of a spiritual opening?
I think because I've walked a difficult journey to get to where I am sympathetic to other people that are traveling the same path. Right. I've given numerous people opportunities, many times, many different people opportunities to succeed, and a lot of them are success stories today because of that. I was at a meeting recently, and I don't remember what was shared, but I remember driving after the meeting, and the phrase just struck me. The phrase was, "Be the person you want other people to be." So I think that sort of ties in with what you just said.
Yeah.
I try to be the person I want so many other people to be, and they're not, but I still have to try and be the person I want other people to be.
Are you pretty introspective about that? Are you continually looking at yourself and thinking, how can I improve, or Or do you feel pretty settled into who you are right now?
I think I'm pretty settled. I think when I get a little off kilter, then I might have to stop and practice that a little bit more. But I think I'm pretty okay with where I'm at.
Well, it's working for you at the moment.
Thank you.
No doubt. We are going to take a brief break to thank our presenting sponsor, the McCallum Theatre.
Our favorite presenting sponsor, by the way.
Also our only presenting sponsor.
No.
But there's room for more, but they are our favorite. I just did the event for the Muses, helping to raise money for their educational programs over there. We love the McCallum Theatre. It is an incredible resource and asset to the community, and they are our sponsor, and we want to hear from them.
The McCallum Theatre's 2024-2025 season is on sale now. The world's top artists, from jazz, pop, classical, and comedy to the best of Broadway. Only at the Valley's favorite place for great entertainment. Tickets are on sale now at the McCallum Theatre box office, by phone, or online at McCallumTheatre.org. Tickets sell quickly, so order yours today. A new, exciting season only at the McCallum. The McCallum Theatre's 2024-2025 season is on sale now.
Our thanks to the McCallum Theatre being a sponsor. Again, McCallumTheatre.org. They're always adding shows, and we're going to have the president and CFO, Robert McConnell. He's going to be on.
Oh, my gosh.
And we were talking about, we had Gary Keefe on, and he talked about how he wanted it to be much more of a year-round theater.
Yeah.
And Robert was talking about how that's definitely... They're pushing boundaries. They're scheduling, earlier into like September and scheduling out into June, which was never the case before.
Did you guys talk about a big conversations, any one of the special booths, like a VIP booth where we could sit for any show?
He told me that we were welcome to buy those anytime we wanted to. He said, yeah, absolutely. It'd be great. And then they presented me with a price list.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. It's all good.
Well, you're the only one of us that's employed, so I'm hoping.
You're employed.
I'm married.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like being employed.
We are here with Willie Rhine from 849 and Willie's in Rancho Mirage, and it's been an intensely personal conversation.
It has. I wasn't sure that we were going that way.
Oh, Randy likes to he does his research. He digs in.
Great job.
Randy's greatest joy in life is if he can bring a guest to tears. And
He almost got me.
He almost got you.
He almost got me.
I got a few more things here.
Yeah.
So talk about Willie's. Willie's was kind of a dream for you, putting that together.
Was it?
Was it? Or was
it
it
doesn't sound like it was. Well, first of all, I want to, I knew that space when Rand and Jeff were running Bernie's.
Yes.
And they had Bernie's in downtown Palm Springs, which is the old Davies.
Yes.
And that was a tiny space in comparison. Mm-hmm. And they took over what is now Willie's, which was at one point a Marie Callender's.
Marie Callender's,
And it's enormous. Is it bigger than 849?
No. 849 is much bigger.
Oh, is it? Is that right? So the size of the space wasn't scary to you?
No, not at all. And again, the concept of having different rooms and having different things happening at the same time was really important to me. We have a really nice lounge menu in the bar, so we're appeasing all the people that want to come in and just have a little bite and a nice glass of wine, discounted prices in the lounge, or we can do fine dining in the dining room. Willie's was sort of an accident, and it wasn't really planned. During COVID, my business partner at the time, Chad Gardner, came to me and asked me if I wanted to open up a restaurant. He was interested in the 1501 space, which was formerly Draftsman.
Right.
So again, he sort of put the deal together, came to me, asked me if I would be interested. Another one of those dream partners where he said, I'm going to give you a bigger percentage. You do most of the work. People know you. I'll just stay in the kitchen.
And he's a foodie guy, too. So he brought a lot to the table in terms of what he can do in the kitchen.
Exactly, in the kitchen. So his department was the kitchen, which is great because I'm really not a foodie guy. My forte is out in the front. So again, long story short, we opened up 1501 right as the pandemic was ending. Another success story immediately because of all the indoor-outdoor space. People were very concerned at that time, so we were one of the busiest restaurants. Between there and 849 having a huge patio, right after the pandemic, we were busy in both locations. Fast forward a year after a year after 1501 opened, Chad came back to me again and said, Willie's or Bernie's is closed. They're looking for somebody to lease that space. I thought, I used to have really great success in Rancho Mirage back in the Piero's Aquapazza days.
Yeah.
I thought, it might be kind of fun to go back and do that. So I said, sure, let's do it. That's how it started, pretty much.
When did 849 open?
849 opened almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
We'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And how were you impacted by the pandemic at 849?
It was a nice relief for me. The pandemic actually, it gave me an opportunity to slow down personally because I was going go all the time. Financially, we were not really impacted because, again, I'm a survivor. I found ways to make money. I found ways to keep people that needed to work working. We did a program called The Great Plates where we were feeding 100 senior citizens 3 meals a day. We had, I immediately went into takeout orders. So we literally, I think we had one day, we were on lockdown. We had one day off, then the next day we started doing to-go orders.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as soon as we were able to do outdoor dining, which wasn't that much, maybe a year or so, I don't remember exact dates, we were super busy during the outdoor portion. We had a huge outdoor patio. And also...
And you were very lucky because that patio was pre-existed COVID, where in a lot of other restaurants ended up doing the little parklets.
Correct.
Right.
And there was cost involved in that, but you had your patio ready to go, yeah?
We already had
and people knew it and loved it.
So we had the patio going, we had the Great Plates program going, we had deliveries, or we also started delivery where we did our own deliveries. And then we took advantage of all the loans that were available. Because we had that huge patio, as soon as we were able to open, all that money from the PPP loans or whatever, we were able to pay it back right away, and what was forgiven legitimately. So the pandemic.
And so you were able to keep most of your employees during that time. You just had them doing different things.
Correct.
That's great.
So transition to Willie's. I'm always interested because they're such different places.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about. Tell us how you create these two great restaurants, but create very different experiences.
Again, I think I've sort of taken ideas from different places that I've gone to, and I wanted this. Willie's is also designed in a way that it sort of reminds me of some of the other Mexican restaurants that I've been to, or other restaurants that one of the reviews, I mentioned the reviews earlier. One of the reviews that I read recently talked about how Willie's still had that old-fashioned service, which is we're losing in a lot of other restaurants. Everything's become fast-paced, and the staff are not quite as caring as we have trained our staff to be. So I've tried to take as much that works. I worked at La Valerie's. I didn't mention La Valerie's. I worked at La Valerie's for about 5 years. So I've taken all the fine dining aspects from that work and that are easily put into Willie's, and it's just a little bit of everything that makes it successful.
Well, service is so important, and you go to a place like La Valerie's, and the service has always been just absolutely impeccable. Mm-hmm. So there must be a great deal of training that you guys do with your staff, because a lot of places don't invest in the training, and it shows up in let's just say not 100% guest service.
I think
that was such a good way to put that. Yeah.
I think one has to be very much hands-on. I used to work with Paul Brueggemann's I adore the man very much. I used to work with Paul Brueggemans every Saturday, and I hated working with Paul Brueggemans. Paul Brueggemans would walk around the restaurant with a rag in his hand and his Belgian accent and say, "Oh my God, Willie, why am I the only person that sees this?" Picking up pieces of paper, cleaning areas, etc., looking for all the details. And I always said, I never want to be like Paul Brueggemans. Well, I am exactly like Paul Brueggemans with a Scottish accent. So again, I truly believe that the most successful restaurateurs are there. They're correcting servers. I don't know that we have a hands-on training that a formal training plan that everyone goes through, but we're definitely there to correct any mistakes that happen. And that's huge.
And once they come in for the first time, they see the example that's being set by everybody else that's there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is it hard to find staffing?
Yes.
I hear that all. I mean,
Yes.
but it seems like it's becoming almost at a crisis level. It's really hard to get staff
It's
for both the kitchen and front of the house.
It's a little bit easier, but right after the pandemic, it was horribly difficult. And everybody was losing their staff, and we lost some of our staff because the person down the street was paying more. So now, I'll just give you an example. Server assistants used to work for minimum wage. Now we pay them $2.50 more than minimum wage. So it's definitely difficult to get staff. And we fortunately, knock on wood, I'm very lucky that we're able to keep staff. That's key also. We haven't touched on my catering company. We do a huge catering business. You mentioned Gary Keefe. Gary's, I believe that I'm one of his favorite caterers. We've done many parties for him in Barrie. But we take all of our staff from the restaurants and use them at catering. I've never hired anyone from outside of our own organization.
Oh, wow.
That way we always know what we're going to get. And we get an amazing service.
Well, you developed a really robust catering opportunity out of Lulu.
I did that for Mr. Keller also.
Yes, and so you've carried that over. Now, do you have a separate kitchen for the catering?
I actually didn't carry it over. I've spilled all the beans today. So I made a deliberate decision not to do. I started Jerry Keller's catering company. And I made a decision not to do catering when I opened up 849, because most of the people that were most of the clients that were at Lulu at that time wanted my brand and the catering company to come from 849, and I made the decision not to do catering for about a year until I couldn't afford to do it anymore. It took me a year to stop saying no. So then we built a new catering company, which has been really hugely successful.
Now, do you operate that out of the 849 kitchen? Or
We do.
Okay.
We do.
What are the biggest differences with Willie's from the time it opened to today? Are there things that you've added to it? The high tea is a big add.
We kept looking for some, so we're not open for lunch at Willie's. We are open lunch, dinner, lounge, etc. at 849. We are open. We tried to do Saturday and Sunday brunch at Willie's just to get a little more income, and that it wasn't working. So we gave up Saturdays. I tried to do a gospel brunch. I wanted to do something different on Sundays. Again, unfortunately, we're not super rich. We're not even rich.
You're below super rich.
We have to be really mindful of what our expenses. So I decided we weren't going to spend any more money on trying to promote the gospel brunch. And then I always wanted to do afternoon tea. That has been a dream, a goal. It's just something that I personally enjoy. So I thought Willie's is the perfect location to do that. So that definitely helped.
Were you surprised at how well that was accepted from the beginning?
Pleasantly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It has done really well, and it's helped. It helped put us on the map. It helped put everything that we do that can help put the word Willie's out there, it helps.
Right.
So yeah.
My wife is still mad at me that I've not taken her to tea.
To tea?
Yeah. She
See,
really
that's
wants
not
to
something my wife has to be upset about.
I know, you did that.
Because I have taken her.
That's right.
Well, Patrick.
We will come in. It's also hard for me to get my wife, she lives in L.A.
Oh, okay.
And so usually on Sundays, she's wheels up. I'm like,
Okay.
well, if you want to go to tea, you have to stay long enough to...
Okay.
I'll go with you.
Got it.
That's a wonderful offer, Randy. Thank you.
I love tea.
They're 849 and Willie's are such different animals because you have such great, 849 is right in the heart of it in Palm Springs. You get great foot traffic, so you can do the lunches. With Willie's, you have to design it because everybody's coming. They've got to drive there. There's no foot traffic.
Yep. That was one of the big surprises when I came. My history in Rancho Mirage was a very successul time at Piero's Pizza Vino. I keep saying Piero's Pizza Vino because that's when it was most successful. Did I say Piero's Pizza Vino? I meant Piero's Acqua Pazza. Then it turned into the river changed. The clients, it started to go down, and then eventually it closed many years later. I remember the successful part, and that's what I thought we were going to get when we opened up Willie's. Willie's has taken 3 years to get on the map again, and you are correct. Rancho Mirage is a very, very different beast now. We don't have the foot traffic. Fortunately, we have a really good reputation between the tea, the food, the service. My reputation, we've turned that curve. I feel for people that put their heart and soul and money into new ventures, and you definitely have to have a little time under your belt. When we opened up 849, we went through the exact same difficulties, and I was borrowing money from anyone that would possibly give it to me, and it was really quite a struggle to keep that place open. We managed, knock on wood. Fortunately, I didn't have to borrow money this time around, but had I not had some money left over from 849, we would have been in trouble.
Well, and it does take a while for restaurants to gain traction. And, again, you've had such great success with 849, it has become a go-to spot. And I'm sure that Willie's will achieve the same.
It has. Yeah. I see a lot of the same people, and a lot of same people go, and that's why I think it's important to have a little bit of everything, where there's a lot of people that come into the lounge maybe 3-4 times a week, and there's some people that prefer the dining room, and the dining room's being used for more parties and more events now. So having a mix of different things to bringing income is huge. Again, the afternoon tea, fortunately I'm the only one that's doing it right now. So.
Yeah. And of course, the demographics are so different in Rancho Mirage compared to the Palm Springs.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
You're also very community-minded and involved in a number of things. What are some of the favorite nonprofits or boards that you're involved in?
It has to be theater. So we didn't touch on
You opened a theater.
Yeah, we didn't touch on my Top Hat days. That's when I lost my sobriety. I had 3 Top Hat Playhouse on Arenas Road for 3 years. Lost all my money, lost my sanity, lost my sobriety, but I had a few good nights. I found out eventually that there's only 2 things that sold tickets, nudity or Broadway show tunes. Both of them were expensive to produce.
Nudity should be cheaper because you don't need the costumes.
No,
and if you could just teach them a Broadway song.
That's right. That's good.
We actually had a show called the Singing Men. It was Broadway show tunes and naked. But yeah, no, we had Top Hat Playhouse.
And that didn't make it.
It didn't make it. It didn't make it. Actually, you know what? I talked about the 3-year curb. I finally realized at the three-year mark what I needed to do to be successful, but I had run out of money, I had run out of stamina, I had run out of everything. So
But theater was already a passion for you at that point? Or was that more just a company that you opened?
It was just another venture, another business.
Yeah.
The old guy was moving out of the theater while I was sitting outside having a cup of coffee, and I thought, oh, I could do that. And I did.
And so now that's translated into you're supporting theater in town.
So Palm Canyon Theater was opened right about the same time, and C was a good friend, and I loved what they were trying to do. So I've been a major sponsor of the Palm Canyon Theater for many, many years. I was on the board, and I'm a sponsor for the Coachella Valley Repertory Company. In fact, I'm super excited that...
Boy, that's gone through some wonderful changes over the last few years.
Yeah, I'm excited about their upcoming show.
Yeah.
Desart, a lot of the Gay Men's Choir. You know what? I try to say yes as much as possible. So...
Have you ever been on stage? You ever performed?
He was one of the naked guys.
No. I was not. I did. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this, if you were here. Do you remember my theater? Patrick?
No, I think it closed before I got here.
Okay.
I arrived in 2002.
Okay. So this was in 96. So the Palm Springs Follies was going on. And I always wanted to do a spoof of the Palm Springs Follies. So I did a show called The Sensational Palm Springs Dollies, where all the guys were in drag, and the host, me. The show was produced by me, myself, and I. I took the ad that the Palm Springs, Riff Markowitz, ran in the Desert Sun. I took the ad, I called my attorney friend and said, hey, if I change this ad, what will they do? They said, the attorney said, you'll probably get a cease and desist letter, so I'm not going to go to jail, or it's not going to be too bad, or whatever. Long story short, I took their ad, took out the word F and put in a D. So the ad was exactly the same. Of course, I get phone calls from Riff Markowitz's office. I get letters. I reach out to all the press. Rich Tarpeting was at the TV station at that time.
So Rich Tarpeting is our assistant news director now, and also ran our assignment desk, and he's been in assignments. And he worked at KMIR for many years, and then came over to KESQ.
And he was my friend for the last 30 plus years. I call Rich. I call the Desert Sun. I call everybody. They all do a huge story, media blitz about how Riff Markowitz, this big guy in town, is picking on the little guy. I sold out all shows in a matter of hours. It was an amazing publicity stunt.
Are any of those coming up in the future?
Not at the moment.
Now, do you have your sights set on opening another restaurant? Are you very happy where you are? What?
I am very happy where I am right now. I have no desire whatsoever to open up any more restaurants. As I'm approaching that retirement age, retirement is looking better and better and better. Nothing planned for the moment, but definitely no more restaurants. Our industry has changed. I talked about Paul Brueggemann's, and I talked about the success of Piero's Acquapazza, and things are different nowadays. Yeah. The industry's changed. Getting qualified servers, even I was at La Valley's recently. There was a time when somebody had to die to be able to get in to work at La Valley's. Not anymore. The
customer has changed too.
The customer has changed.
Yeah. What are the biggest changes between when you opened 849 and what you see from the customers today?
Social media.
Instant reviews as they're eating.
Instant reviews, higher expectations. And please, I want your listeners to know that we do try to match everyone's expectations, but some of them are just some of them are crazy.
What are some of the crazy things that you've had in reviews?
Well, we talked about the afternoon tea. So I've been doing afternoon tea for about a year and a half.
Very successfully.
Very successfully. People love it. The teapots. I'll give you, when we opened up.
Such a great story.
When we opened up, or when we started doing the teapots, remember I told you I do everything on a budget. I happen to have about 100 white teapots in storage from our catering department. And I thought, well, I'm just going to use white teapots and white china cups, and it'll just be elegant. It's not going to be fancy. So, long story short, I changed my mind. I decided to get beautiful china, English china, amazing teapots, etc. I get a review recently saying that the scones were fabulous, the tea was fabulous, everything was great, but I didn't get a cozy on my teapot, 1 star. Because they didn't get it
cozy.
And you're the only one in town doing this.
Yeah,
right.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think
mean, there's lots of little examples like that. People's expectations have become really high.
So now everybody gets a cozy when they.
I'm not doing cozy.
Don't do cozies. Don't give in to the pressure.
Do not give in to that.
She said, whoever wrote that,
I'm not.
That person's a terrorist. Don't give in. Don't give in to them.
As I'm getting older, I'm becoming a little bit less persuaded to make changes like that.
Well,
I'm not doing cozies.
You've got a base of customers that aren't expecting that of you.
Well, it will. I'm glad that you don't have any immediate plans to retire, because that would be a sea change. That would change the restaurant landscape in this valley.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank
Willie
you.
Rhine is very important to the restaurant throughout the valley.
And you've become important to the community because of it. All of these different things that you're involved in.
Thank you.
If people did not know you owned a restaurant, they'd still know who you were based on the things you've done for the community.
Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time and being so open with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
A fascinating journey all the way from
Anything
Scotland
coming
to
up at either one of the restaurants that you want to talk about?
No, just keep joining us. Keep coming in to see us. The season's almost over. The season seemed to have gone by really fast.
Yeah, I know.
Really fast. And again, we're trying to figure out what to do with Willie's during the summer. 849 is open all year long.
Yeah.
But maybe this summer we're just going to scale back and do the lounge. That's the other complaint. Every summer, how hot it is in our restaurants. It's 125 degrees outside. Yeah. Our air conditioning is only going to do so much. This past year, I had to make up signs just so that they would see it as they walk in. It's hot inside.
Well, listen, folks.
It's the summer in the desert.
It's the summer in the desert.
Yes.
When you have an opportunity, if you're a listener of this podcast, support locals, support people like Willie Rhine, because they give back to the community in important ways. Plus, you're going to get a damn fine meal at one of those restaurants. Yeah. And it's always a great experience. And it's been a great experience having you on the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, Willie.
Our thanks to Willie Rhine. Please, again, support Willie's and 849. Thank you for listening. Our thanks to the McCallum Theatre, our presenting sponsor. Our thanks to John McMullen, our producer. Randy, another great job. You did a lot of research.
I did some research here. Yeah.
My research was, I know Willie. I mean, I've eaten at both restaurants.
Yeah,
that's my research.
I actually have to earn my keep here.
We thank you for listening. Remember, you can subscribe so you never miss an episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. It is available at all of your favorite podcast platforms.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Page's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, and presented by the McCallum Theatre. Online at McCallumTheatre.org. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from BigConversationsLittleBar.com and most major podcast portals.
Meet your neighbors, fascinating and grand. Each conversation, a wave on the sand. Raise your glass and join the ride, where stories and dreams fully collide. At Big Conversations Little Bar, brought to you by McCallum, our guiding star. From movies, stage, and TV's delight, join Rick and Randy, tales retold.